My name is Nick. I am the CEO of a UK-based training company called Edifai, and we specialize in skills training. I've spent about most of my career, I was working out the other day, around 18 years working in learning and development, and I'm incredibly passionate about the intersection between technology and people. And for me, the kind of explosion of generative AI over the last few years really presents an opportunity for us as learning professionals to do things better, to do things faster. I've worked with almost all of the large like education providers that you can imagine, but I'm exceptionally passionate about learning. And when the Learning Network invited me to come along today, of course, I jumped at the opportunity to speak to other people working in the field and hopefully share some of the tactics and techniques that I use every day and that we use as a business every day to research our programs, to develop training materials, to deploy those training materials, and of course, to measure the impact of them. Now, you must have been living on a rock if you haven't really noticed the impact that generative AI is having on the world. When we bring that really kind of into our sphere as learning designers, there are incredible opportunities, also a few risks we'll talk about today, of ways that we can use tools like Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini to do things faster and better. And I'm going to introduce you not only to some really cool tools that I love using every day, but also some really useful frameworks and ideas that you can hopefully take away back into your day jobs. We're going to be together for about an hour. We've got a lot to get through, as Tom said. But if you've got any questions at any point, drop them into the meeting chat. We'll try to pick them up as we go. We'll save a little bit of time at the end. And it's definitely worth sticking around right until the very end because we've got a special gift to give you as well as a thank you for coming along today. For a moment before we jump into this, I want you to reflect on two things. Firstly, yourself as a learner. If you think about the way that we get information nowadays and the way that we want to learn about new things, it's very different now to the way it maybe was kind of 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. And if you've been working in this field for kind of as long as I have, you've kind of been through the explosion of Web 2.0, mobile, social media, and of course now generative AI. And we expect more. We expect to have information delivered to us just in time. We expect it to be available across any device. We expect truly customized learning curation based on our needs and based on where we're at. We expect things to be really easy. We expect them to be gamified. And of course, as these expectations rise, our role as learning professionals is also shifting or foundationally changing. So we really need to start thinking about how can we service our learners in a similar way. But the second reflection I want to ask you, and this is one that I always ask at the start of any session that we run at Edifai, but that's how does AI make you feel? Grab your phone out, scan the QR code on the screen. Of course, if you're joining on your phone, you won't be able to do that. But just take for a moment a second to think about what are some words that sum up the way that AI makes you feel. Now, typically when we run this exercise, we have lots of people saying excited. We have lots of people saying concerned. And it's a really interesting dichotomy between the two. I think we're very much on the cusp of understanding the impact of generative AI in the world. I mean, it's going to have a profound impact, not just on businesses and on work, but on humanity. And we really see ourselves, like many technological kind of disruptive trends that have happened before, really on the cusp of working, trying to understand the full impact of this technology. I don't know if anyone saw the Google I/O conference just a few weeks ago, but Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO, stood up and said he believes we're 1% of understanding how much a generative AI is going to impact humankind. 1% in 2025. ChatGPT is only just over really 2 years old now, and it's already really changed things. So let's take a look at some of those results that came through here. So as suspected, we're seeing excited right in the center of the screen there, curious and concerned coming through as well. Some of the other words I like to pick out there, we've got skeptical, we've got opportunistic, which is fantastic. Environmental impact, of course, very topical at the moment around the amount of energy that these large language models are consuming, although there has been exponential increase in the power and the cost of tokens in 2025. Some people saying overwhelmed. That's actually a really interesting word to zoom in on. And I think attending this session today hopefully will make you feel a little bit less overwhelmed about this technology, because again, we're going to really bring it back in to what it means to you. Now, before we get into things, and this is going to be a very kind of whiz bang practical, I'm going to do loads of demos, show you loads of cool shit as we go. But I just want to frame this with a video that I absolutely love. Now, the reason I love this video is it was filmed over 50 years ago. This is Steve Jobs in 1979 when he announced the Mac range of computers. And I think if you listen to what he's saying here in this particular video, a lot of this is really more true than ever in 2025.
The best analogy I've ever heard is Scientific American, I think it was, did a study in the early 70s on the efficiency of locomotion. And what they did was for all different species of things on the planet, birds and cats and dogs and fish and man and goats and stuff, they measured how much energy does it take for a goat to get from here to there, right? Kilocalories per kilometer or something, I don't know what they measured it in. And they ranked them, they published a list, and the condor won. The condor took the least amount of energy to get from here to there. And man didn't do so well, came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But fortunately, someone at Scientific American was insightful enough to test man with a bicycle. And man with a bicycle won, twice as good as the condor, all the way off the list. And what it showed was that man as a tool maker has the ability to make a tool to amplify an inherent ability that he has. And that's exactly what we're doing here. It's exactly what we're doing here.
So yes, definitely some kind of profound thoughts there from Steve Jobs. But again, we are really at those crossroads. We've invented this incredible tool. We need to learn how to work with it. And of course, zoning into the world of learning and development, loads of areas that we can start utilizing. And hopefully many of you are starting to experiment with generative AI around skills mapping, around the generation or creation of content, whether that's text or images or video, about using it for data analysis and creating proper adaptive kind of learning pathways. I know that's been a big buzzword for the last 5 or 6 years in learning. I think generative AI is really helping us get there quite quickly in your own research, and of course, more broadly, even around talent pipelines. Today, we're going to talk about kind of three main parts, I think, which are really things that you could take away immediately. So we're firstly going to talk about doing research with generative AI. We're going to play around with a tool called Perplexity. Quick in the chat, who's used Perplexity before? Give me a quick yes if you have, a yes or a no. Some of you have, I'm assuming, some maybe not so much. Then we're going to look at content creation. I'm going to introduce you to a really useful framework for prompting and for this kind of what we call prompt engineering nowadays, which I think is a bit of an overused term. And then we're going to look at a little bit around kind of task automation and some of the things that you can do there. So let's dive straight into summarization and research. Now, there is a host of tools out there that you can use. Personally, ChatGPT with deep research, if you're paying for a premium subscription, is fantastic. Claude, again, also their model 3.5, if you enable internet access, can be a great research tool. But the one that I always come back to is Perplexity. Now, to describe Perplexity, for those that haven't used it before, it's a little bit as if ChatGPT and Google had a baby. It is a live internet-connected tool that allows you to search the internet, much like you would on Google, except for it uses the power of a large language model to aggregate the results and bring it back to you in a more conversational interface. Okay. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other tools that I think are really cool as well. So let's jump into our first live demo here. For those that have not seen Perplexity before, you can find it at perplexity.ai. I'm just going to quickly change my screen share here. Brilliant. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. I'm going to jump into Perplexity. So the first thing you notice, similar to ChatGPT, we have a search box here that we can type search commands into. I'm going to cheat a little bit today and I'm going to use a thing called Whisperflow, which is just a voice diction thing I have installed on my Mac computer. So you don't have to watch me typing manually into Perplexity. But we could say, for example, that we want to research, we're building out, let's say, for example, we've been tasked to build, and I only know this from personal experience, that we've been tasked to build some training materials for a team that work in procurement around sustainability and sustainable procurement. Quite a dry, boring topic. Okay. So I'm just going to ask Perplexity here. Again, I'm just going to use voice search to make things a little bit quicker for me. I'm interested in finding out more about sustainability practices, specifically in procurement for a large international bank. Can you find me some research papers that are published by big companies like McKinsey and so forth that really talk about sustainability within the field of banking? So I'm going to run that search directly there in Perplexity. Now, what you'll see happens in the background is it starts to search the internet. Okay. I've asked it specifically to look for things like McKinsey reports. So it's done that for me. It actually cites all of our resources here. So it's also gone to Deloitte and BCG. Of course, there's quite a few McKinsey resources in there, which is fantastic. But unlike when I search on Google, where I need to jump in and out of each of those resources, if I go here to my answer, it's actually aggregated that very nicely into one chat, one kind of thing for me. And you can see all the citations here. So I like this a lot more than ChatGPT for doing this kind of thing because you have live citations and live sourcing as we go. I'm going to push it a little bit further. And I'm going to ask it, because as learners, as learning designers, we typically like frameworks. They help us convey information in a good way. So I'm going to ask it for a useful framework. This is fantastic. Could you find me a really useful, memorable framework, preferably with an acronym, that I could use to structure a training program for some people working in procurement within the bank that would help them remember the key tenets of sustainability? Brilliant. So I'm going to run that there in the chat. Once again, it's going to go and search the live web. It has brought 19 sources in this time, and it's given me start as a useful framework. Now I could keep conversing with it, but say, for example, I like this strategy and policy, training and tools, assessment, accountability. Sounds good. I'm going to ask it a little bit. I'm going to push it even further. Okay, I love the START framework. I would like to think about designing a one-day session based on the START framework that would help people both become familiar with it, but also put some of this into practice. I would like you to design the session for me, lay it out in a table format. It's 8 hours delivered in person. I'd like you to include some different modalities of learning, adhering to the 70-20-10 principles. And I'd also like to ensure that there's some concrete learning outcomes within each section that adhere to Bloom's taxonomy. Now, I just threw a lot of kind of learning kind of frameworks at it just now, but let's give it a go. So once again, it's going to keep going, searching away. Here it is. It's now given me a breakdown. It's broken, of course, into that START framework. It's given me some icebreakers, mini lectures, but of course, it's also given me the really valuable Bloom's taxonomy there on the right. Now, of course, I can keep engaging with this, but it's a fantastic research tool. Anyone who's using Perplexity before ever tried it out with this kind of thing? Or what's your initial reaction to seeing this in action? Any kind of thoughts on that as I jump back over into my screen share? Mind blowing, says Depeche. Any other kind of reactions to that? Kurt, the one thing I would say here is that remember, you are the expert. You are the learning designer. You are the one that ultimately you're using this to kind of fill the blank page. I like to say there's nothing worse sometimes, I think, when you're starting out to build a program, you kind of don't know where to start. You're trying to work with SMEs and they're giving you loads of different information. It very hopefully helps you kind of aggregate and synthesize research. And of course, it's just a starting ground. That place that I got to in a matter of, I don't know, 4 minutes is not the final workshop agenda, but it certainly gives me a place to start from. There are loads of other fantastic tools out there. that are great for research. These are some of the ones I love to use. Research Rabbit is fantastic. Jenny is great for doing kind of more academic research. Quillbot, which is kind of similar to kind of Grammarly. But the other one I want to show you is actually just a very simple Chrome plugin. It's called Note GPT. So if you're a Chrome user, you can search in the Chrome store to find this. It is a free plugin. It looks like this. Basically, what it allows you to do is it installs, like Chrome plugins, installs something into the browser. So if you're looking at video sites, so say, for example, I'm here browsing on YouTube, looking up things on Brene Brown, because I think she's a fantastic speaker, and I jump into a video, what you'll see
in order for transformation to happen.
It immediately, within seconds, gives me a live transcript of that video on the right-hand side of the page. Yeah. Now, if you pay for this or you create an account, it's a freemium model. You can also generate a summary. Or often what I do is just save it as a note, dump it into ChatGPT or another large language model and ask it to pull out key points for me. So if you're trying to wade through kind of like hour-long videos, instructional videos, it can be quite dry. This is a brilliant little kind of Chrome plugin that can save you oodles and oodles of time. Alistair, good question. The results being different from ChatGPT, I assume you are referring to Perplexity in this case. The reason I prefer Perplexity over ChatGPT is the ability to do live sourcing, but the ability to also be very specific about where you want it to get information from. ChatGPT Plus has deep research in it, which is kind of similar to it, but I find Perplexity to be a bit more of a workhorse, in short answer to your question. All right, that's a little bit kind of around some research and summarization. Hopefully useful or kind of piqued your interest. Some of you might even be playing with Perplexity in the background now. Let's talk about content creation. And of course, the secret to creating good content, and this is the Australian in me coming out, but I often say if you put shit in, you'll get shit out. Okay. So good content creation, whether it is text, whether it's images, whether it's videos, or whether it's other rich types of media, it's all about the quality of the prompt. And we run workshops every day with loads of huge international clients, and I'm always astonished to see how poor sometimes people prompting is. So to do this, we're going to play a little bit of a game, and I want you to type in the chat for me. We're going to play a game called Bad Prompt, Good Prompt. Okay. Let's firstly start with this. Why would this be a bad prompt if we're going to put this into something like ChatGPT? Come up with some training ideas for the creative team training. Why would you say that is a bad prompt in the chat? Brilliant. It's vague. It's not specific. There's no objective to the prompt. Yep. We're not specifying any kind of format or anything like that. We're not giving it enough info. ChatGPT will give us an answer. These models are trained to tell us that we're right. So it will come up with some ideas, but they'll probably be pretty awful ideas. They won't really be aligned with what we need. So a better prompt might be something along the lines of like, imagine you're creating a training program for a new creative team. What methods or creative approaches would you incorporate? Still not a perfect prompt, but definitely a lot better. Why is this a bad prompt? List digital marketing trends. Again, you pop this into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, it's going to give you, or Copilot, it's going to give you a list of them. Great. So it's missing some specifics. It's got no context. Of course, yeah, you're not giving it a time period. You're not telling you what is the right, what are we measuring against here? Not enough info again. So a better prompt might be something like, please explore the latest trends in digital marketing. Please provide insights on this. Can you go into this detail? I want it in this time frame. I want it in this many words. Again, just being a lot more specific, right, in your prompt. It's also sometimes quite important, I think, they call this kind of one-shot prompting, where you try to get the prompt as close as you can on the very first input. So the refinements are a lot easier. If you try to kind of just constantly refine it as you go, you can often end up in a little bit of a rabbit hole. One more example here. Why is this a bad prompt? Explain how artificial intelligence is stealing jobs from hardworking people, proving to be a threat to the livelihood of the average worker. Why is this a bad prompt? Brilliant, Coco. It's incredibly biased. It's incredibly leading. You're basically telling it what you want to hear. This might not necessarily be a bad thing if you're trying to write an opinion piece, but in most of the cases, ChatGPT or these large language models will assume your bias. Yeah, they will tell you that you're right. So if you're looking for a slightly more objective way of prompting, something might be better like discuss the impact of AI on employment, considering both the positives and the negatives, and specifically focus in on these markets. So to help you with your prompting, and we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so really going through this, we wanted to share with you a really useful framework. And this is one that we've developed here at Edifai. We call it Create. There are many prompting frameworks out there, but the reason I like this one is that it really gets you to think quite holistically about the prompts that you're putting in. Cool. So, 6 sections to this. CREATE. First is character. This is where we want to give the large language model a persona. Basically, we're telling it to behave like a certain person. Okay. Then we're going to go in with the request. This is really important to be quite high up in the prompt, but specifically, what is it that we want from it? Is it a speech? Is it a video script? Is it a blog post? Is it an email? Are there specific keywords we want to use? Are there specific things we want it to reference? Then we go into examples. Examples are one of the things that I think are very often overlooked in prompting. The more examples you can give to the large language model, then the better the results will be. What are some kinds of examples that you think we could use here? If we're looking at a tool like ChatGPT and you have a premium subscription, what are some examples that you could put in? What types of things? Type in the chat. It's a great question there, Richard. I'll come back to that a little later on. A case study? Yeah. I mean, if we're trying to get it to write, I don't know, text for a flyer, and we've got an existing flyer, upload the existing flyer as a PDF or a PowerPoint, or a screenshot or a live web link. Yeah. If you're trying to write job posts because you work in HR and you've got openly available job posts on your company website, then provide a link to ChatGPT or to Copilot or whatever it is that you're using and ask it to mimic the style of that job posting. Yeah. The more examples you can give it, the closer you're going to be to having the exact kind of results you want, not only in terms of tonality, but in terms of structuring and so forth. The A is around audience. Audience is just, again, this is to remind you about kind of customer backwards or learner backwards design. But like what's, again, just emphasizing the tonality. What are you trying to communicate here? Then the T is for type. This is where you can specify things like how many words you want. It could be whether you want it in bullet points or in paragraph text, whether you want it in table format, whether you want it to provide it as a Word document. Yeah. And then the E, which is your extras. There's kind of anything else you want to stick into the end of the prompt. These could often be things like, one thing I like to use a lot is ask me any questions before you generate a response. What else do you need from me so you can generate a response properly? Okay, that's a really useful prompting technique to learn. Or sometimes, explain your thinking. If you want to understand the reasoning of how the model is generating the response that it's generating. So for a little bit of fun, I thought as a kind of classroom activity, and I appreciate it's a very busy class today, but we're going to have a go at using the Create framework to write a speech. Now, not just any speech. We're going to write a speech imagining that Beyonce is announcing her run in the US 2028 presidential elections. Okay, and we're going to use the Create framework to do this. So first up, can someone type into the chat what would we write in here for character? Okay. give me an idea for character. And we're going to type this directly into the slide here. So you, I'll kick us off. You are a speechwriter for Beyonce, who is helping her announce she is running for president in 2028. Okay. Brilliant. What would our request be here? Just close this a bit clearer. Or feel free to come off mute if you're brave to speak up in front of however like 100+ people we've got here. I would like you to write a speech announcing the run for presidency. Let's tell a little bit about kind of tone. I would like this to engage people, thank you, and be inspirational, empowering, controversial. I mean, what would we want Beyonce to say? Give me some other words in the chat as we go. Inspirational and any words. Empowering. Cool. Someone suggested the time duration for the speech. We'll put that down in here. This should be a 5-minute speech. I would like an intro, 3 key bullet points for key policies, and a slogan. We definitely wanted to say that we would like, in the example, please reference as many Beyonce lyrics as you can that align with the speech. Cool. The audience is the press. Do we want to be more specific about is she Democratic or Republican? All right, the audience is the press, who are strictly we'll just say Democratic. That seems a bit easier for the sake of this. And then in terms of extras, I'm just going to practice what I said before, and I'm going to say, ask me any questions before you generate this speech. Ask me any clarifying questions. All right, I'm going to literally copy that entire prompt out, and we're going to go straight into ChatGPT. In this case, again, you can use a different model if you prefer. And I'm going to just post that in. Now, because I've asked it to ask me any clarifying questions, hopefully it'll come back with some. Here are a few clarifying questions. Make sure you hit the right tone, substance, and vibe for President Knowles Carter. Okay, so it's asking me about tone of style, policy pillars, and slogan style. Maybe it'll give me some more questions. And stagecraft. Will she be alone on stage? All right. Let me just quickly answer those questions for it. Once again, I'm just going to use my whisper flow to make this easy. In terms of tone and style, I would like it to be fiery and electric. Definitely Beyonce's Coachella performance meeting Michelle Obama. That sounds fantastic. In terms of my 3 bullet points for policy, definitely focus on racial equality, then gender equality is a separate one, and then access to healthcare as the third one. In terms of the slogan style, play off the lyrics, but it should feel modern and punchy, and she will be alone on stage. I've answered its questions now in the chat there. I'm going to run that again, and let's see what it does. Cool. So it's summarizing what I've asked for. Here's the 5-minute speech as we've requested. You can see it obviously knows Beyonce. It's giving me this nice intro that we asked for as well. It's quoting some Beyonce lyrics, which are brilliant. It's picked out those 3 things that I've wanted it to focus on: racial equality, gender equality, and access to healthcare. Again, some more Beyonce lyrics in there. It is definitely tailored here towards the Democrats. It's given me a nice slogan: America, let's get information. You can see here off this one-shot prompt, I've already given it enough information that's actually given me something really useful. Yeah. Now, just remember, if you put kind of white noise into Gen AI, you're going to get white noise back. So really trying to be quite specific about what you're looking for here is absolutely key. Are there any questions around this? I could see some questions coming through before. Any thoughts or feedback? Anyone think that they're prompting at this level currently? As I let questions come through, I'm just going to show you an example of this in a more learning design context. Okay. I'm going to have ChatGPT build me a Spanish teacher um, on a single prompt. Okay, so I'm trying to learn Spanish at the moment because I've been living in Buenos Aires. So I'm using the Create framework here, and you can see the breakdown of it on the slide. Um, I'm just going to add one thing to this in English so it doesn't go. You can see I'm saying only focus on the present tense. I'm telling it how I want it to behave. Cool. All right, I'm going to take that prompt out and we're just going to jump straight back into ChatGPT and we're going to start a new chat over here. Cool. And I'm going to post that in. Now, on a single prompt, it should hopefully give me a great. So, I want a coffee, please. It's quite a difficult question to start with. Quiero un café, por favor. Cool. Oh, it's corrected me a little bit because I didn't put the accent on cafe. I can ask it questions. Is the accent always necessary? You can see here, there we go. Give me another one. Cool. Now, again, this is not a perfect Spanish teacher, but it is based off a single prompt. I've actually created something that's quite useful to me. So really, I encourage you to take away from this today, like hopefully just going through that Create framework has given you a little bit of a better structure to how you think about your prompting, and hopefully you can make some improvements to it as well. Let's take a look now. I'm going to take a look at the questions that have come in. Brilliant, Richard. ChatGPT es mucho mejor que Duolingo. Brilliant. See, lots of people saying that the framework is useful. Definitely like give it a try yourself. Don't get too worried about what goes in each box. Really try to think like about these different parts of the prompt. And I guarantee you'll have a huge kind of success or kind of move in the right direction. I just want to talk very quickly about image generation as well. Now, if you're using ChatGPT, it's basically baked into it now. There are loads of other image generation tools out there like Stability Diffusion or Midjourney, among others. It's really kind of become the norm. And rather nowadays, I think then, typically if we need images to go into a learning deck or something that we're building, we just search Google for them. Now we can quite easily generate images. But very similarly, if you give a really generic prompt, you'll typically get a really generic image back. Okay. So just searching for an astronaut in space might give you something that's not quite right. But as you layer on more complexity to the prompt, you're going to get it in that first shot. You're going to get something better. So I just want to very quickly share with you a useful image prompting framework. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on this today, but if you're interested in generating images, we call this the prompting hamburger. We will share a resource with you at the end of the course, which goes a bit more into this if you like. But the key thing here is that the buns of the burger, you think about medium and style and then the kind of overall image details, and then bring it back to the classic who, what, how, where, and when. Again, the more information you can put into the prompt, the better the results will be. Cool. And like I said, images kind of becoming passe now. We're now moving into kind of video generation. And if you haven't had a play around with Sora yet, it's OpenAI's tool for video creation. Google also just launched the Veo 3, which is an incredibly powerful video generation tool. I would have loved to have demoed it today, but due to limitations on time, we're unable to. But definitely check it out. It's an expensive tool, Veo 3. It's about £250 a month. But if you are doing a lot of video creation, it's really, really important. The one thing, and I just want to bring this back to the point that someone raised earlier, you are the expert. And I think this is quite a funny image of someone asking Midjourney to generate a picture of salmon in the stream. That just reminds you that at the end of the day, you need to apply some critical thinking to any generative AI output to understand, is that exactly what I want? Is that exactly what I'm going for? Another great tool for content generation, or as we kind of moved into talking a little bit around task automation, is of course Google's Notebook LM. If you haven't had a play around with this, it's a free tool. It essentially means you can upload kind of any documents, like huge PDFs or slide decks or this kind of thing. It will summarize it for you, but you can also turn it with one click into a podcast, an AI-generated podcast, which for some learners, myself included, I learn really well by listening to podcasts. So sometimes if I'm trying to understand really complex information, I'll dump a load of documents into Notebook LM, click a button, it'll get kind of two AI hosts talking, very podcast style, that I can then just listen to, I can download and take away with me and listen to when I'm at the gym or when I'm commuting, or that kind of thing as well. So that's Notebook LM if you want to check that out. All right, last but not least, in our kind of final 10 minutes, I just want to talk a little bit around kind of some of the things that we can do as L&D professionals for task automation. This is obviously a huge topic. We are moving into the era of agentic AI, of course, which are where we can get AI kind of agents to do things for us. There are a couple of areas that you can start playing around with this if you're kind of interested. So building a custom GPT or a gem, as Google call it, if you are using Gemini. Language translation is one that we use a lot at Edifai, as we have loads of global clients across the Middle East and across Asia and across Europe. And then there's some other fun tools that you can use out there as well. Quick show of hands in the chat. Who's built a custom GPT before? Who's had to play around with doing this? And more importantly, why would you want to do this as a learning professional? Why do you think a custom GPT might be a useful tool? Okay, Kim saying built a couple last year, but never actually used them. One for creating proposal, for policies and guidance. Yeah. So for those that are not familiar with what the concept of a custom GPT is, it's essentially a large language model that you train on your own materials. Sometimes also referred to as RAG. You may be hearing this acronym a lot, Retrieval Augmented Generation. But it's basically where it augments the generated response by retrieving information from a specific set of documents. Yeah. In the L&D world, and again, we work with a lot of L&D teams, can be really useful if you're rolling out a long-form training program. You can dump all your training materials in, and then students can self-service queries. If you've got a huge learning catalog, you could train a GPT on that, so people can select their own kind of learning pathways. Or, as some people said here, you might have a very specific tone of voice, or a very specific kind of set of policy documents. That when you're generating content, it needs to be aligned into that. So you can train the model so it knows about that. So you don't have to go through the kind of telling it every single time how you actually wanted to create that stuff. It's quite easy to do. I'm not going to do a live demo again today in the efforts of time. But here's an example, I think, from the world of education, Arizona State University, where they've deployed their own kind of custom GPT library. They realize that it's really essential for student success, but it's also really essential for teacher success. So they've created a bunch of GPTs, ones that can help students kind of check with their copywriting of projects and so forth. Ones that can help scribing in lectures, ones that can help them check their alignment of a project to a course rubric or something like that before they actually submit it. So really interesting here to see this kind of stuff happening in the wild. See, some of you have kind of experimented with this. Again, if you want to find out more about building custom GPTs and building agents, that is something that, we do. We run loads of programs around that, of course, as well. What I would really love to demo to you, though, kind of before we finish up, are a couple of really fantastic tools for doing language translation. If this is indeed one of the things that you need to do, this can be incredibly laborious for a learning team. So two tools I'm going to talk about today. The first of these is called DeepL. DeepL is kind of like Google Translate on steroids. Basically, like Google Translate, you can type and you can get direct translations. But the thing I love about it is that you can upload a file directly into it, a PowerPoint or a PDF, and it will translate it into a different language whilst retaining the existing formatting. Yeah. Now, of course, if you're going from something like English to German, the words are going to be much longer, which means they probably won't fit very well on the PowerPoint slides. But this can save you loads of time. So, for example, this is a maturity framework that we have in English. Just copy and paste it, dump it directly into DeepL, and it spits it back out in German for me. Okay. Now, it's not 100% perfect. You may need to hire a translation team or someone to kind of check this, but it gets you about 90% of the way there. So definitely check out DeepL. Anyone here played with DeepL at all? Fantastic, Andy, saying using it every day. Like I said, it's fantastic because you can just do a whole document at once into a different language. We often use it for whole PowerPoint decks, so we can get them share them with other people. Yeah. And then, yeah. The other tool I'm going to show you quickly is something called HeyGen. Now, you might have come across HeyGen for avatar creation. If you're trying to create talking avatars. I'm going to show you one of the features that's in it, which is for language translation. To do this, I'm going to play a quick video of myself. This is not an avatar. This is a real video of myself that I filmed earlier this morning. I guess at this point of the webinar that we are co-hosting with the Learning Network, I barely need to introduce myself, but I do want to introduce you to a very cool tool called HeyGen, which is incredible for language translation. Check it out. Great, so that's a little video I recorded of myself. Now let's watch that back again in Spanish.
Supongo que a estas alturas del seminario web que estamos coorganizando con la Learning Network, apenas necesito presentarme, pero sí quiero presentarles una herramienta muy interesante llamada HeyGen, que es increíble para la traducción de idiomas. Échenle un vistazo.
Reactions. Any native Spanish speakers in the room? Now, I can speak some Spanish, definitely not at that level. Yeah, you'll notice a few things there. It's kept my lips in sync. It's kept my tonality. It sounds like me. It's kept all my body language. I mean, you wouldn't even know that this is not actually a real video of me, which is kind of insane. So if you're looking at translating videos, highly recommend looking at HeyGen. Again, you can do about 3 or 4 a month for free. And then you need to go into a paid version, which also removes the watermarks and so forth. 27 languages, I think it now supports. So if you've got a friend that speaks a different language, why not go film a little video of yourself after this webinar and send it to them to blow their mind. And then, of course, a couple more tools that I just want to talk about. And then we're going to kind of bring the session to a close and do some questions. But this whole idea of agentic AI, I'm going to play a little video now. This is from Claude, who are, of course, kind of a competitor to OpenAI, or Anthropic is the company that owns Claude, about their kind of foray into agentic AI. And I think this is kind of an interesting space to watch.
I'm Pooja, and I'm a researcher at Anthropic. going to show you a simple example of computer use today. My friend's coming to San Francisco next week, and I want to take him to do some touristy stuff. I think doing a sunrise hike with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge never gets old. So I'll ask Claude to figure out some logistics for us. I'll ask Claude to find a good place to see the sunrise, to help me figure out timing logistics, and help drop a calendar invite so I remember when I have to leave. It's opening Chrome, going to Google, searching, and it looks like it's found something. Great. So how far away is the location from my place? It's opening maps, searching for the distance between my area and the hiking location. Cool. So now it looks like Claude is searching for the sunrise time tomorrow. And is now dropping it into my calendar. And populating it with some details. And great, it looks like Claude did it. This is a simple example, but we're sharing computer use early to learn from what people build.
So just so we're clear on that one there, basically Claude is controlling the computer and taking all the actions on behalf of the user off a single prompt. So we're going to see a lot of explosion in this space, specifically around agentic AI, definitely in the kind of the next 6 months to a year. And the last cool app I want to show you that's kind of fun, if you're into kind of like building games or that kind of thing, try out WebSim. It can help you create really simple little assessments or little kind of like interactive puzzle bots and that kind of thing, all off a simple prompt as well. So WebSim's really cool. And then if you want to get a bit more advanced, you can look at tools like Cursor or Replit or Lovable, which are fantastic. But again, bombarding you with kind of ideas and tools today, hopefully just to kind of whet your interest and just remind you that, this is, we've covered quite a lot in the last 45 minutes or so, but really only scratching the surface. We spoke a bit around kind of research and looking at tools like Perplexity to do that. Some content creation, you'll remember the Create framework there, and really thinking about the quality of prompts for generating text, but also thinking about generating images and videos, and then a few kind of quick, simple hacks there for some things that can automate other tasks. So I'm very curious to hear from you. What's your biggest takeaway? What are you taking away from the session today? Type that into the chat, and then we've got a little gift to share with you. And then I'll hand back over to Tom and the Learning Network team. What are some of your takeaways from today? Danny, yes, Synthesia is also a fantastic tool for building avatars. I don't think their translation is quite as good as HeyGen. Certainly not when I tried it kind of a few months ago. Cool. Daniel was going to try out Perplexity, which is fantastic. Saying Create framework, some tools. Hopefully I haven't overwhelmed you with tools. Agentic stuff coming through there as well. Notebook LM for podcasts, of course, as well. If you're kind of thinking now, like, oh my God, I'm blown away. I really want to learn more about this. We do, of course, at Edifai run training programs for organizations. We have an L&D specific bootcamp for a team. So if you've got a large L&D team, you think, we need a day out of the office to really go through this stuff and to maximize it, definitely get in touch. But we also have an Udemy course, which is more of me talking. It's about 2.5 hours, going through a lot of what we've actually spoken about today as well. This Udemy course is based around the ADDIE design framework. So if you're familiar with ADDIE, analyze, design, develop, implement, evaluate, the Udemy course goes through each stage of that and breaks it apart and gives you some kind of fictional data sets and stuff so you can actually do some activity work with lots of the tools that we've explored today. We normally sell this course for $99. We sell in the US mostly, But if you want a free coupon for it, we're going to give it away. So you can scan that QR code there. We only have 100 coupons available. So it's kind of first in, best dressed. But scan that QR code or click the link I think Anita's about to share in the chat now. If you want one of those coupon codes, fill out the details there and we'll send one directly to your email. But definitely check that out if you're keen to go a bit deeper than we did today. So on that note, with kind of 5 minutes left, I'm going to hand back over to kind of Tom and the team, see if there's any other questions that have come through or any closing thoughts. But that's it from me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much for that. I think there was a lot of value in there. If anyone does have questions, things they wanted answered, now is the time to get them in the chat, because obviously we may not be able to cover them today, but we can always collate them and come back to you with answers. Make sure you check out that free course in the link linked in the chat as well. That's an incredibly valuable thing to take away from today's session. But Nick, I really just want to say thank you for your time and sharing your expertise with us today. If people want to get in touch with you directly, where's the best place for them to do that?
Best place is just stalk me down on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find with my surname, or maybe Anita can share the direct link to my LinkedIn profile. Definitely follow us on LinkedIn. Follow our Edifai page. We run lots of free content all the time. So if you're looking at jumping into other sessions in the future, yeah, just keep an eye on us. And we've got some really fantastic sessions coming up in June and July, actually. So yeah, definitely come along.
Fantastic. And with that, we are at the end of our session, as I'm not seeing any new questions come through. If you've enjoyed this and you're not already a member of the Learning Network, please do consider joining us. It is a fantastic group. Obviously, I'm horrendously biased in saying that, but we are all volunteers. But it's a really special place full of passionate L&D professionals sharing ideas and experiences. You can learn more about that at thelearning-network.org, or get in touch with me or any of the other directors at any time on LinkedIn or wherever you can find us. Thanks again, Nick and Edifai and everyone who's joined us today. Have an amazing rest of the day, and most importantly, after this, take 5 minutes to figure out how you're going to put this into action. Attending webinars is fantastic, but it's only valuable if you use it to improve your practice day to day. Thanks again, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everyone.